This is going to be my review of the Hoyt Carbon Matrix Plus, new bow from Hoyt. Very distinctive looking bow, so let's check it out. There's been a lot of interest on these bows, and primarily I think because it's a really striking looking bow, very unique in its design. And you'll often hear manufacturers talk of a new invention or the latest and greatest version of something, but really when you get down to it, those changes tend to be very small, or even slight changes to existing designs that are not really different from the ones before. But you can't argue that with the Carbon Matrix Plus. It's a very distinguished looking bow, very distinctive in its style. With the main feature, the main attraction is this riser, a carbon riser. And carbon risers are quite rare on compound bows. There's a few on recurve bows that are coming onto the market. But this is a genuinely new style of making a bow. Well, they call it an advanced carbon construction. I don't really know what that means, but I think what it means is it's a hollow tube construction. You can see all of these fancy pipe looking type attachments to it. They're hollow and really does make an unusual looking bow, really quite attractive. But the first thing you notice when you pick this bow up, so lightweight. So whereas some earlier carbon recurve risers tended to be not any lighter than their aluminium counterparts, this version of the Carbon Matrix Plus is very, very lightweight. They do a few different finishes. As always, there'll be a camouflage version of it. I haven't got any camouflage ones to show you. And what's becoming now standard for Hoyt is the lower cost blackout finish on the bows, and it's no exception on the Carbon Matrix Plus. They do a slightly cheaper version. It's got a matte textured type riser, black cams and matte black limbs on there. So still looks nice, save a few pounds on it, but bear in mind this is the most expensive bow Hoyt have made, and if you're going to be spending what's going to turn out to be a small fortune on this, so they're not cheap by any standard, what's a little bit extra when you can get a really nice shiny glossy target finish, which are quite exceptional really. So I'll do a close-up for you on the finish of these bows and see if you think the target finish is worth a bit extra, but they do stand out as something rather nice. This is the blackout one. You're going to see everything blacked out as the name describes. Got black pockets, black screw heads on there. The finishes, the riser, coming close there, you can see it's a textured finish on there. Gives the impression of quite a tough, fairly rugged finish on it. The blackout does have a different grip. It's got the rubber coated type grip on, more of a non-slip or a warmer touch type grip. Coming through the bow. The pockets, the aluminium parts of these pockets match the carbon finish exactly the same. The limbs are well finished, but again matte black really. Same black anodized cams. I think you get the idea why they call it blackout. Strings and cables red and black on this one. I don't know whether that's normal on all of the blackout ones. See how the string stopper is attached on the outside of the riser there. So the blackout, nice overall finish, saves some money, and it'll still look tidy. So let me just show you now one of the target ones. Okay, so we can see now the target finish, and it's got a gloss effect to it. Close up you can see a little silver speckle in the paint. It's not just a flat white, it's a pearlescent type white. I don't know whether the camera's picking that up for you or not. Got silver hardware on the pockets. The external finish on the limbs, really nice. Always good on the Hoyts, the outside surface finishes. Silver cams come in there to the red laminate on the side of the limbs. So you can see why it costs extra to have the target version. I know it's not going to make your shoot any better, but it does look really nice. Wooden grip, that's a different feature. Blackout had a rubbery grip. So coming over, looking at the black one, again not a flat black, you can see the sparkle in there. Carbon Matrix graphics there, look tastefully done. So all in all, a really well finished bow. If there's any problem though, is that with the aluminium anodised ones, the anodising would never really chip. You'd have to really hit it hard or scratch it to make any difference. So you might have to be a little bit more careful with the painted finish. I have noticed though, what's a good feature though is that we've got these aluminium sections on the outside, so the main area of paintwork damage used to be when you'd bolt your arrow rest on the side or your sight block on the mount here. But with these being aluminium, it's not going to damage the paintwork. So I've had a good look at the finish of the bow. Yes, I think we'll all agree it's a well finished bow. So let's have a look at some of the features. We've got a roller guard, a totally encapsulated roller guard here. We've got the fuel cam. That seems to be their default choice of cam on an awful lot of the bows that they do. Got the alpha shocks in the limbs. The limb pockets do look sturdy. It's always a wonder when you're making a bow from components really such as this, is how they're going to attach all of the critical mounting areas, and it does look a really solid type mounting. It reminds me a bit of a bicycle frame type tubing and assembly. It does look very rigid at the top, and then they've got the limb pockets that they've used before on the previous bows like the Alpha Elite. I'm going to compare it to the Alpha Elite because it's actually a very similar bow. You can see the additional plate. I like how they've done that, especially for the arrow rest hole and also the stabilizer mounting hole. You see how it's an external attachment. It's always rather difficult to bush or tap directly into carbon, and if this is a hollow tube you could see the problem. So they've got quite a novel way of attaching the accessories, so there's actually no strain on any of the bushes because they're externally attached. Okay, grip wise we've got a over-fitting wooden grip, not the integral type that you get on some of the target bows that they do. And Hoyt are always really good at making grips. Even though this is a full-size over-fitting grip, it doesn't feel unusually wide or bulky or clumsy in your hand. It is quite a narrow, slender grip, and with the correct hand position there, the arrow shelf fits nicely around your thumb and your index finger there, so you'll be able to get a nice, good, comfortable grip on that without it feeling like a handful. So it is still quite slim, quite narrow across the width as well, so it gives it the feeling of a very small grip. So that's a nice, comfortable grip. So looking in a bit more detail at the specifications, I've just got down a Alpha Elite, which is very similar in style, very similar in geometry. Many of the components are the same, with only a few slight differences. They both use the Pro Arc limb, which is a limb that is quite laid back, well, very laid back actually, that when it's drawn back, let me see if I can show you that one, position, so those limb tips come quite a long way beyond horizontal. It's almost a complete curve of limb there, so it's not a vertical limb in the same sense as some of their target bows like the Contender or the Vantage Elite. It's got that laid back limb style of bow, as does the Alpha Elite, exactly the same limb, same cams, the fuel cam, which is becoming their standard across these type of bows of the more horizontal type. The difference between the two, you can see the cable guard is different, so we've got the addition of a roller guard on this one, and the Alpha Elite just had the standard slider bar. The brace heights are similar. If anything, the Alpha Elite had a 1/4 of an inch slightly smaller brace height, which according to the specifications makes it 2 feet per second faster, but actually checking in with a tape measure, depending on the cam size, very close indeed. The axle lengths are close. The carbon matrix is 1 inch shorter, so you can see that the limb pockets are the same. It's a very similar style of bow, so it's a fair comparison to choose these two to look at them. Obviously the Alpha Elite is a lot heavier. It's pretty normal weight for a bow, but when you pick up the carbon matrix and notice just how light it feels, what used to be called a normal weighted bow actually feels heavy now. So the overriding benefit when comparing this to the Alpha Elite is the lightness of mass on it. It's distinctively lighter, not just a little bit. You can pick it up and you think, wow, this really is a lightweight bow. So a fair comparison with the Alpha Elite. Only if you feel that a lighter weight bow would be a benefit, really, is a good enough reason for choosing one of these over the Alpha Elite. But very similar bows in style. In fact, the only noticeable difference is a 1 inch in length. That's really the only performance difference. We might have a preference one way or the other on that. A closer look at the fuel cam for you. It's a modular draw length adjustment cam, which means we remove this module here, replace it with a different module and move the peg to the corresponding hole to change the draw length. They do offer different cam sizes for different draw length ranges, but each cam does have a draw length adjustment within it. So that's the bottom cam we're looking at here, and the top cam is a slightly different shape. It's their cam and a half, so the top module is a different shape to the bottom, and you'd replace this module as well to match the bottom one, whichever one you'd use to change it. Just seen these bows hanging here on the rack, and I thought it's quite an interesting shape from the back of the bow, looking at it. We've got the big kick away on the inside of the riser there, and the stabilizer sitting by itself outside there. So it really is quite an interesting shaped bow there. Certainly nothing else that looks like it, and really you should even get bonus points for just having something that looks unique, and this definitely looks unique. Just going to show you the bow at full draw, give you a better idea of the shape of the bow. So top limb rolling over there, beyond horizontal. Balance of the bow is nice, got a neutral balance with it, which means it just sits there with no accessories fitted. It doesn't rock forward or backwards at all. So when we fit a sight and a stabilizer on, shouldn't take much really at all to get that to aim quite nicely. Describing the cam, it's the fuel cam. So it's a hard cam, which by definition means it's quite hard to draw back actually. The first few inches of the draw pick up the poundage very rapidly, and it holds that poundage all the way back, and it drops off quite sharply at full draw. And I do like a cam that does drop off quite sharply, but it's certainly a cam that you can't be lazy on at all. So if you're at full draw and you think, well, I've got a nice lightweight bow here, and then you forget to maintain all your tension, it can catch you out and pull you forward. But it's done in a way that is necessary. I do feel you do need to have quite a sharp cam where it accelerates rapidly from the loose, gives you a clean, crisp feel to it when you shoot it. And I don't like to feel any lag that you can sometimes get with very high let-off bows. It's as if there's a bit of a delay in everything playing catch-up from the instant you loose a string. A bit of a delay for everything to accelerate. So you need a cam with quite a short valley like this one. I feel it's just about right. It's not going to suddenly feel like it's going to rake you forward or pull your shoulder out of the socket, but it is an advanced cam, so it is really for advanced users. If you was going to be a beginner wanting to use this for the first time, you really ought to have a bit of instruction on how to use it, or at the very least set the poundage a lot lower than you might have expected, just till you get used to the draw cycle of the bow. But all in all, a really nicely balanced, lightweight, who knows, maybe a good shooting bow. We're going to try that in a minute and see how we get on. Okay, 60 pounds, 28 inch draw length, 300 grain arrow. Let's see how we do. .307. It was told you it was a fast bow, very fast cam, that fuel cam. Let's do a few others. 307. 308.